Hello and welcome. Tonight, former SGF Babachi Lawal and former Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara visit Governor Wike in Port Harcourt in what Mr. Dogara says is a move to build an all-inclusive Nigeria. PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar challenges youth in the party to begin grassroots mobilization as they unveil PDP Operation Rescue Nigeria project. Former APC chieftain in Rivers State, Senator Magnus Abe, emerges governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party a day after announcing his defection from the APC. And Ukraine labels Russia a terrorist state following the killing of more than 50 Ukrainian prisoners of war held by Russia.
And on business news tonight, Nigeria's forex reserve records its first decline in 8 weeks, drops to $39.22 billion amid tight foreign currency liquidity in the country.
On sports news tonight, Liverpool draw first blood ahead of the new season as they outclassed Manchester City to win the Community Shield at the King Power Stadium.
Seemed like a political realignment. The former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachi Lawal, and former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, today met with Governor Nyesom Wike in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. The visit comes one day after both chieftains of the All Progressives Congress led a gathering of northern Christians in APC to formally reject the Muslim ticket of their party. According to the former House Speaker, the meeting with Governor Wike is a move in search for an all-inclusive Nigeria agenda.
They were the leading voices at the gathering of Christian members of the All Progressives Congress in Abuja on Friday, July the 29th, where they restated their objection to the party's Muslim presidential ticket. A day after that summit, the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation and the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, are in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, to meet with Governor Nyesom Wike. Following political events of the past few weeks, their visit may not be said to be a mere coincidence, coming against comments by Governor Wike the same day at the Northern APC Christian Summit in Abuja, where he spoke vehemently about his grievances regarding his political party, the People's Democratic Party. After about 3 hours in a closed door with Governor Wike, they come out for a group photograph and an interview with the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, giving what seems like a diplomatic answer to their reason for the visit.
He's our brother, so every now and then the Bible enjoins you to visit one another. That's what we have just done.
However, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, gives a hint of what could easily be predicted to be a search for a new political alignment.
Everyone agrees with us that Governor Wike is one of those indispensable political leaders. And for us, it's a search to build an all-inclusive Nigeria. So we feel that as part of the agenda setting, we should meet with him. And that is the reason why we're here. But the rest of whatever it is, maybe in the future we can discuss that.
The prevailing rumblings in the APC and the PDP, which pride themselves as the biggest political parties in the aftermath of their presidential primaries, may give way to realignments in the political space, which could shape the 2023 general elections.
Ahead of the 2023 polls, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, is asking young people in the party to begin mobilizing support from the grassroots instead of hanging around the national headquarters in the nation's capital, Abuja. According to him, the outcome of the 2023 presidential election will be determined at the polling unit. The former vice president was speaking at the unveiling of the PDP Operation Rescue Nigeria, where he also informed the gathering that the party will unfold its campaign structure soon.
The leadership of the People's Democratic Party is well represented at this event to unveil what the party calls Operation Rescue Nigeria 2.0.
For the DG
It is a youth-driven campaign structure which the PDP hopes will help them to mobilize support ahead of the 2023 general elections.
The official campaign for the 2023 general elections will commence soon. PDP New Generation has a big task ahead. Our target is to deliver 5 million votes to the Atiku ticket.
Do not relent in the rescue effort, because I'm very certain that come May next year, you will have a brand new team led by President Atiku Abubakar.
Other speakers at the event hint at the need to rally around a presidential candidate that has the capacity to undo the current security and economic challenges facing the country.
In troubled times, such as we experience today, we need the guidance of those who have been tested, men with a nationalistic personnel, to secure and not to destroy us, and to prosper our people yet again.
We as a people must shun the divisive narratives. The nation's political, economic and religious leaders must all join hands to bring Nigeria together, heal rifts between communities and build bridges across divides.
For the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, the party needs to change its strategies and firm up its grassroots mobilization plans if it wants to win the 2023 general elections.
As you know, our current electoral process is being devolved to the polling unit. We don't want you in Abuja. We don't want you even in your state. We want you in your polling unit, polling booth. Go and deliver it to us. Protect the votes there and deliver it to us there.
The PDP was a major contender in the 2019 general elections, and even though it failed to win the last presidential elections, its members are looking forward to unwriting that history in the next general elections.
Staying with politics, the national woman leader of the All Progressives Congress is asking all women in the party to begin to mobilize support for the APC 2023 presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying that he is the best candidate to fix the country. Dr. Betaidu appealed to the APC women to activate the social media platforms to sell the candidacy of Senator Tinubu and begin door-to-door campaigns ahead of the 2023 polls. She was speaking at a conference with Young Progressives Women's Forum in the nation's capital.
Sitting in your house, sitting in your space and saying, I'm Young Progressive Women Forum will not work the magic. Yeah. It's time to drop the excess baggage. It's time to forget gossip and jokes. It's time to hit the streets, door to door, person to person, shake to shake, shop to shop, one young woman to the next young woman to the next young woman, Twitter page to the next Twitter page, Facebook page to the next Facebook page, Instagram page to the next Instagram page, because we are positive and we are sure that if Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu can fix Lagos, Lagos is more than some countries, so. Lagos has over 20 million persons living in Lagos. If he can fix Lagos and make it the envy of Nigeria, the economic capital of Nigeria, then he can make Nigeria the economic capital of the world. It's time for us to begin to move. Begin to move, door to door, house to house. Keep moving. Do not be distracted by the noise you find sometimes on the social media. Do not be distracted by it. Rather, concentrate on the mission and the goal you want to achieve.
In other political stories, the former chieftain of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State, Senator Magnus Abe, has emerged the governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, in the state. Senator Abe, who was a representative for Rivers South-East Senatorial District, emerged SDP flag bearer at a substitution primary conducted by the party and supervised by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Port Harcourt. He was represented at the primary by his proposed running mate, Patricia Ogbonaya. The chairman of the SDP Substitution Electoral Committee Governorship Primary in Rivers State, Mohammed Ibrahim, said Senator Abe scored the entire 30 valid votes cast in the election to emerge victorious. Last Wednesday, Senator Abe, who could not get the APC governorship ticket in Rivers State, announced his exit from the party and on Friday announced his defection to the SDP.
On behalf of the national chairman of SDP, Social Democratic Party, and in accordance with the Electoral Act of 2022 and other guidelines, hereby certified that Senator Magnus Abe has participated in the substitution primaries and has scored 30 valid votes in the SDP gubernatorial primaries for Rivers State held today. He is hereby declared as the duly elected gubernatorial candidate of SDP Rivers State and is returned elected.
Still talking politics, the leader of Pan-Yoruba Social Cultural Organization, Afenifere, Ayo Adebanjo, has been explaining the group's decision to back the Labour Party ahead of the 2023 general elections. In a post on his Twitter handle, the Afenifere leader states that they are throwing their weight behind the LP presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, because they will not endorse the continuity of what they describe as the incompetence of the current administration. The tweet reads, Ahmed Tinubu will only give continuity to Buhari's incompetence. We know Peter Obi very well. That is why we endorse him. He will not disappoint Nigerians. Let us put our tribal difference apart and vote right leaders. The elder statesman had earlier told Channels Television that Afenifere had decided to support the political aspirations of the LP presidential candidate because the Southeast deserved to be given the opportunity to lead the nation at the highest level. Away from politics now, another round of strike may be brewing in the medical sector as the National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has given the federal government 2 weeks to implement agreements concerning their welfare or face industrial action. The association gave the ultimatum after their National Executive Council meeting in Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital. This threat comes amidst the crisis in the nation's tertiary education system following the strike embarked upon by lecturers in public universities, which has lasted for over 5 months.
The NEC urged the federal government to expedite action on the payment of the newly reviewed medical residency training fund within 2 weeks ultimatum to enable our members to meet up with the closing date of examination registration as advertised by the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria. The NEC demand the immediate implementation and payment of the new hazard and payment of arrears of the new hazard allowance as contained in the circular from the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission dated 22nd December 2021.
In part 2, after the break, the challenges of tackling human trafficking comes into focus at the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons marked World Day Against Human Trafficking 2022. That's in a moment. Join us again. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Former SGF Babachi Lawal and former Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara visit Governor Wike in Port Harcourt in what Mr. Dogara says is a move to build an all-inclusive Nigeria. PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar challenges youths in the party to begin grassroots mobilization as they unveil PDP Operation Rescue Nigeria project. Former APC chieftain in Rivers State, Senator Magnus Abe, emerges governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party a day after announcing his defection from the APC. And Ukraine labels Russia a terrorist state following the killing of more than 50 Ukrainian prisoners of war in Russia. The issue of airline blocked funds in Nigeria may be taking its toll, as Emirates Airline says it will reduce its number of flights into Nigeria from August the 15th due to failure to repatriate its revenue from the country. The airline disclosed this in a letter dated July the 22nd, addressed to the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, and signed by its DSVP International Affairs, Majid Al-Mula. The letter reads in part, with effect from 15th August 2022, Emirates will be forced to reduce flights from Dubai to Lagos from 11 per week to 7 per week. We have had no choice but to take this action to mitigate the continued losses Emirates is experiencing as a result of funds being blocked in Nigeria. The letter also stated that as of July this year, Emirates had $85 million awaiting repatriation from Nigeria, indicating that the carrier needs the money to meet its operational obligations and commercial viability of its services to Nigeria. Meanwhile, the twin issues of scarcity of foreign exchange and rising price of aviation fuel is crippling the domestic sector and apparently leaving it worse off than the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Key players in the industry believe government has to act fast to ensure the domestic aviation sector survives the difficult times. Our aviation correspondent, Bukola Joe Oketumbi, has this report.
African airlines will recover in 2023 or 2024. Looking at the momentum, full recovery will be in 2024. At the global level and as an industry, it will be in 2023, but the basis is not the same everywhere. That was a prediction from the International Air Transport Association about airline recovery post the pandemic. For a while, it appeared that Nigeria's domestic travel figures were swelling and the country on the road to recovery. In a flash, the Ukraine war brought the cost of aviation fuel to unimaginable heights.
The issues of fuel, which all over the world was known to have been taking 40 or 30% of cost of operations of every airline worldwide, in Nigeria is now 120%.
With the rising cost of fuel greatly impacting on the cost of operations, airline operators say flight schedule integrity cannot be guaranteed and ticket fares are almost beyond the average traveler.
Unfortunately, the one I booked, just one way now, it's 7,500. It's quite expensive, and I wonder how many Nigerians can afford this.
Mine is around 76,000, one-way ticket to Abuja. Unlike before 30-something or something that we used to buy. It's almost twice the price now.
Beyond aviation fuel, the domestic runway 18 left 36 right at the Muritala Mohammed Airport is closed for 90 days as airfield ground lighting system is being installed, a decision airline operators believe is adding to their woes as they have to taxi with costly fuel to take off on the international runway. From runway closure, the scarcity of foreign exchange for maintenance and multiple charges from aviation agencies are also issues that won't go away.
You pay NAMA in your own country for navigational charges. You pay about 37 other charges. At the end of the day, what comes to these poor airlines, just about maybe 12,000 or 13,000 out of 50.
Now, the greatest challenge is the capacity created in the market with the suspension of Dana Air by the regulator, stating that the carrier is no longer in a position to meet its financial obligations and to conduct safe flight operations.
and aero contractors' withdrawal of flight services, citing a harsh operating environment. But who will now bail the cards?
The government needs to engage the stakeholders in a more technical and more realistic way. We know that the government is also broke, but I mean, government is government, right? So government will always know what to do. And that is just the fastest way out for now.
And it appears that government has listened and is working with the airline operators to find a temporary solution.
We will approach government through NNPC and Duke Oil to ensure that that is sustained and that is made available. And the users of Jet A1, civil aviation, and civil aviation only, we would approach and ensure that we are able to get this foreign exchange at the official rate.
It's a known fact that air transport provides significant economic and social benefits, facilitating global trade and commerce. But it appears more help from government may go a long way to ensure that the sector is not grounded. Bukola Joe Oketumbi, Channels Television News.
The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and some concerns groups have observed the World Day Against Trafficking event in Edo, Imo, as well as Katsina State. The focus of the celebration in this state is to create awareness about the issues of trafficking.
World Day Against Trafficking in Persons is observed annually on July 30th, and it's a day to raise awareness about the glaring issue of human trafficking as well as the ordeal for the victims, which has increased in recent times. The day has become all the more important as tens and millions have been left isolated and vulnerable amidst mass displacement owing to global conflicts, climate change, inequality and poverty. To mark the day in Edo State, staff of the State Command of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, students as well as representatives of civil society organizations embarked on a walk to increase awareness on ploys adopted by traffickers to sell their story.
Technology, the traffickers normally use deployed technology to recruit their victims. They no longer go to houses to deceive and recruit their victims. They're not doing it online. And so we will continue also to deploy technology to fight human trafficking.
In Imo State, NAPTIP put together a sensitization workshop for the students of Owerri Girls Secondary School. The focus is to enlighten them about the methods the traffickers employ in luring people into being victims.
The knowledge I have acquired today is sufficient enough to know and decipher what is fake and what is genuine. To know when somebody is talking to them genuinely about the chances of travel, and to know when somebody is deceiving them to make a living out of the exploitation, out of the gains they will make from the profits of their labor, which at the end they will not be party to.
And in the northwestern state of Katsina, the day is observed with a joint media briefing by the State Command of NAPTIP, the State Ministry of Women Affairs, and the Network Against Child Trafficking, Abuse and Labor. The State Commander of NAPTIP, his counterpart of NACTIL, asked youth to be careful of the kind of green pasture they seek.
Youth has been deceived by using of these social media, deceiving them in the form of seeking for a job outside the country. So the youth now, they have to be wise, and then they have to be intelligent to know who are the serious people that they are talking about, and who are the people that mingle with, so that they can know that they are not being deceived.
The focus for this year is the use and abuse of technology, and NAPTIP as well as other critical stakeholders believe that the scourge of human trafficking can be defeated if the law enforcement agencies, the criminal justice systems and others can leverage on technology in their responses to the menace.
Still on the issue of human trafficking, statistics show that women and young girls make up 75% of all victims of trafficking in persons, with 93% of the victims being trafficked for sexual exploitation. In this special report, our correspondent, Dare Idowu, tells the story of this trans-border crime through a victim who survived the near-fatal experience.
You may have seen some of these visuals of Nigerians returning from Libya, but stories of each of the returnees are different, with most of them laced with traumatic experiences and exploitation. The crime of human trafficking continues unabated. The recruitment, eventual exploitation, and even the trafficking routes have remained the same over the years. From Kano to Niger, through the Sahara Desert, then Libya, many have embarked on this tough and risky journey. For many who travel this path, Europe is the promised land, but Libya, the transit point, is where many get stuck. These victims lived in Libya in pursuit of a dream job in Germany, but came back after 3 years with nothing.
When I reached Libya, I started the work. The work is made. Thank God that my burger, no, it's not take me to do prostitution. And I started the mid July 7, 2018. And before I left Nigeria, I think I said that before, that I paid them $450. And that my burger just told me that the money just wasted, that I just paid them. I will still repay the money, that I will work for 1 year and 6 months. And I worked for 1 year and 6 months without seeing my salary. I don't know the money. I did not see the money, talk less I will see my salary.
There are new trafficking destinations, and the Anti-Trafficking Agency of Government says these new cases are on its radar.
We have a lot in Saudi Arabia, we have now in Dubai. I think in the past 2 weeks, we've actually treated, let me say, more than 20 reports from Dubai in terms of forced exploitation. So in terms of challenges in prosecuting these cases, of course, we have very low reportage, so people don't report the crime, and victims most times don't cooperate with us, and the reason why they don't cooperate with us is because these traffickers are known to them.
We asked the women and child rights activists on why the problem persists.
Why do you think it's so difficult for authorities or law enforcement agencies to break these traffickers, the ring of traffickers, despite the fact that it's been going on for a while? Is it that there are no enough legislation?
I would say that the overriding factor, the driving force behind human trafficking and why it has persisted over the years is poverty, because the victims in the first place are vulnerable. And if, for instance, government goes to rescue victims, takes them back home, but the conditions that drove them into the traffickers' ring or the trap in the first place are still there back home, it's possible, it's most likely that they're going to go back right into the traffickers' ring.
Human trafficking is globally recognized as a modern-day slavery with negative socioeconomic and health implications. Poverty, lack of job opportunities, greed and ignorance are also identified as reasons why this illegal business model continues. Dare Ido, Channels Television News.
To security matters now. In Kogi State, gunmen have ambushed security operatives at Jida Basa community in Ajaokuta local government area, killing 3 police officers and 5 vigilantes. It was gathered that some persons living in the community reported to the divisional police officer that some gunmen had attacked their farms, carting away produce. In response, the DPO mobilized some of his men and the vigilantes to the scene, but before they could get to the farm, they were ambushed by the gunmen. The security advisor to the Kogi State Governor, Jerry Omodara, confirmed the incident, saying the Kogi State government has vowed to arrest those behind the killings. In Taraba State, the government has distributed relief materials to victims of terror attacks in Yantu Special Development Area, Takum, and Yusa local government areas of the state. The gesture elicited different reactions from the displaced persons. The State Police Command has made a breakthrough by arresting some of the suspected bandits and kidnappers in the state.
It's been months of unending attacks on farming communities in Yangtu Special Development Area, Usa and Takum local government areas of Taraba State. Authorities say no fewer than 120 persons have been displaced, with uncountable numbers killed, thereby leading to a humanitarian crisis. Public schools have now become their shelter, while food and water are scarce commodities. In fulfillment of its promise, the state government is bringing relief materials to the people. However, their demands go beyond feeding.
Abamu salama kowa da kowa ya koma gujin zamansa da fi mana kyau don gujin da ka saba ka zo na in baka zo na gujin ban ka je ka zo na wani guji zaka samu salama ne yauwa shine damuwar mu kenan
ni garewa ye lokacin shiga daji ne mai tace ba yara su je su sir ka samu 200 300 a zo a wannan gari a yi management kamar mun gan ku yau na mun ji dadi ku kai ku kanmu muna so kamar ba mu kamar ku mu koma gefe mu je mu yi kokori a wajen zai fi ma mu kome.
These demands are re-echoed by a state lawmaker who wants a commission of inquiry to unravel the factors responsible for the situation.
I want to call on the Taraba state government to set up a commission of inquiry into this crisis with a view to unravel some of the facts and issues surrounding the crisis, which many are tagging it as politically motivated. While I commend the state government through the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs for the relief materials and the role of security agencies ensuring an end to the attacks and killings, more action still need to be done in addressing the humanitarian situation of the IDPs.
Meanwhile, the police has arrested 4 suspected bandits with 4 AK-47 rifles. They are accused of terrorizing affected communities.
Let us use this opportunity to assure Tarabans that these ones that are part of the bandits and suspected kidnappers threatening the state are already in the net of the police. We are using this opportunity to warn those who are their cohorts that we are on their ear presently, that they should stay off the state completely.
The police is extracting more information from them and plans to charge them afterwards.
Governor Afenifere of Adamawa State is giving assurances that his administration will continue to work hard towards transforming the state by developing more projects for the benefit of the people. The governor gave this assurance during an unscheduled visit to one of the suburbs in Yola, the Adamawa state capital. He appealed for the cooperation and patience of the people as the government works on its urban development program in line with its 11-point agenda.
Lakarebole is a community on the outskirts of Yola, the Adamawa state capital, with a sizable population of farmers, businessmen and civil servants. This unscheduled visit by Governor Afenifere of Adamawa State raises hope for residents of the area as he seeks higher ground to assuage the concerns of the people.
This is one of the most populated suburb area within the metropolis that needs to be developed so that we can convert it to the satellite status for our workers, our businessmen to have a good settlement. Really, you can see from the deplorable road that we have passed through that they really need a world-class facility in this area, particularly the road infrastructure.
Poor road network has been a major problem here, and when the rain sets in, it gets worse.
Whenever there's rain, we don't even go out again. There's no work that day. You will not go out again, no work that day. You can't even go and buy anything in the market. And one funny thing is that there's no market along this road. So even if it is vegetable, once you don't see this woman, you will not get anything. So this place today is a very, very good experience for us to see this governor making these promises. And we know him by promises and fulfilling them. We just believe what he has said, and we are sure that this road for today, we know is final.
There has been a great challenge for the people living in this area, because for this past 9 years that I've been staying here, mobility have been a problem because of the lack of good road we are having here. But today, we are very happy, we are very excited that our leader, the governor of Adamawa State, is here to assure us that it has come to an end. There is a saying that leaders are born and not made, and truly Fintri is a leader, and we thank him, and we pray that God will give him the grace to continue, not just for 4 years, but another 4 years again.
The residents of the area are now looking forward to the governor's promise to leave no one behind in his urban renewal efforts.
In other stories, the federal government is disbursing a one-off grant of 20,000 naira to vulnerable persons in the FCT. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Mrs. Sadia Umar Farouk, told journalists in Abuja that the Vulnerable Group Program is an expansion of the National Social Investment Scheme. She says about 2,900 persons across the 6 area councils in Abuja have been selected to benefit from the grant.
Actually, we are giving 2,900 beneficiaries in the federal capital, and it's going to be replicated in all the other states of the federation. We are flagging off with FCT today, and we'll continue with the other states by next week. This is a program under the National Social Investment Program, an initiative of His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari in supporting the poor and vulnerable of our citizens. This is 20,000 naira to be given to vulnerable groups, a grant, a one-off grant, and is for them to either start some small petty trading, or they will add to their capital to continue with what they're doing.
Bauchi State is keen into digital learning, and major players in the education sector are advocating policy formation that accommodates ICT-driven learning solutions. This comes to the fore as the Nigeria Learning Passport, an ICT initiative designed to provide learning opportunities for children, is launched in the state. Our correspondent, Hajara Aliu, has this report.
Honorable Commissioner, the success of this in the state.
The Nigeria Learning Passport has just been launched in Bauchi State. It's an online-offline mobile learning platform designed to provide access to digital learning for children across the country.
Good. So we'll get started.
The Bauchi State government is promising to fully implement the modern learning platform across all local government areas.
I pledge the unreserved support of my administration in the development and adoption of the NLP. Bauchi State is ready to participate fully in it. My government will support the Ministry of Education in overcoming challenges in adopting the NLP until its full opportunities are realized.
The beginning of the journey, I think, is now. It is almost, I would say, officially today. We are launching an application designed by Microsoft and sponsored by the Federal Ministry of Education and UNICEF.
The new learning solution was inspired by the learning gap created during COVID-19, as the UNICEF chief of field in Bauchi explains that learning was disrupted for about 50 million children in Nigeria during the pandemic, which is further worsened by the closure of schools due to insecurity.
It's very unique, making it fit for use in remote areas where connectivity may not be at its best. The Learning Passport will reach children in pre-primary, primary, secondary education level with learning materials in major languages in Nigeria, including English and Hausa, the other two being Yoruba and Igbo.
The Learning Passport promotes the attainment of SDG Goal 4, which harps on quality education, and the program targets 12 million Nigerian children in the initial phase in formal and non-formal settings. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Time to find out what's happening in the world of business. Teniola Shobowale is standing by with details.
Thanks a lot, Melinda. Welcome to Business News. Nigeria's foreign exchange reserve has recorded its first decline in 8 weeks as it fell by $169.21 million week on week to close the month at $39.22 billion as at July the 28th. Analysts attribute the latest decline in the country's dollar buffer, which comes amid a rebound in crude oil prices, to the central bank's increased intervention in the foreign exchange market in a bid to tackle the liquidity challenge, which has led to the Naira's weakening both the official and parallel market. This also comes as the country faces tight foreign currency liquidity and inability to attract foreign exchange through export value, spur remittances and investments, despite a number of policies and programs by the CBN. Before now, Nigeria's external reserves depreciated by 3.37% in the first 6 months of this year to $39.16 billion as at June the 30th, against $40.52 billion, which it closed in 2021. Meanwhile, trading activity at the forex market was mostly negative this week as the total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot, forwards and futures markets fell by 42.81% to $538.30 million as at July the 15th. A further breakdown of trading results shows that total value of transactions at the FX spot market also fell by 44.56% to $458.55 million, while transactions at the FX derivatives market declined by 30.12% to $79.75 million. Meanwhile, the local currency depreciated by 0.52% to 425 naira 45 kobo against the dollar at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange window of the forex market, in contrast to 423 naira 26 kobo recorded last week. Also, some company news now. Telecoms giant MTN Nigeria has released its earnings results for the first half of 2022. According to the financial reports sent to the Nigerian exchange, the company, which recorded 417 billion naira from voice revenue, 348 billion naira from data revenue, and 29 billion naira from SMS revenue. At the same time, its total profit jumped by 28% to 181 billion naira. Total revenue increased by 20% to 950.1 billion naira, while its earnings per share rose by 28% to 8 naira 92 kobo, in contrast to its 2021 half-year performance. And at the local equities market, investor sentiment ended the final trading week of July with a sharp drop, despite the 1.42% gain recorded on Friday, which was largely driven by telco giant MTN Nigeria. The market's benchmark all-share index closed the week down by 3.10%, while total value of equities dipped by 869 billion naira, following significant losses recorded in 4 out of 5 trading sessions. Analysts attribute the market's record loss lingering consequence of recent hike in monetary policy rate by the central bank's MPC 2 weeks ago. At the same time, losses were recorded by components across 5 key sectors of the market, which include PZ Cousins and 52 others as top losers, while Nigerian Aviation Handling Company led 10 other gainers. While the trio of International Energy Insurance, Transcorp and Zenith Bank were major contributors to 1.54 billion total volume of shares traded this week. To the unlisted securities market, activities at the NASD OTC exchange ended the second week of July in the green, as both the securities index and market capitalization recorded a 2.10% advance. At the same time, the NASD capitalization increased by 0.02 trillion naira to close at 1.03 trillion naira this week. However, the total value of securities traded during the week decreased by 62.27%, as the market recorded a total of 33.8 million naira in value against 89.59 million naira in the previous week. Similarly, total volume of securities traded on the exchange dropped by 79.04%. The duo of Niger Delta Exploration and Production and Friesland Campina were top advances in price value, while Central Securities Clearance System and NASD PLC were top decliners for the week. Well, let's bring you some of the key expectations for Nigeria's financial markets for next week. We start with the T-bill space, where yields is expected to moderate slightly in anticipation of inflows into the financial system. For the bonds market, the yields is seen uptick in the medium term, as both the federal government's 2022 full-year borrowing plan and expected fiscal deficit point to its elevated supply. And that's business news tonight. I'm Teniola Shibowale. It's back to Melinda for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Teniola. And for what's up in the world of sports, here's Victor Matthias.
Thank you, Melinda, and welcome to Sports News. Our Team Nigeria has won its first gold medal at the ongoing Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, United Kingdom. Adijat Olarinoye lifted a combined weight of 203 kg to claim the top prize in the women's 55 kg category. Olarinoye also created a new games record. Nigeria currently stands at number 9 on the medal table. Liverpool have won the Community Shield as summer signing Darwin Núñez came off the bench to score his first competitive goal in a 3-1 win over Manchester City at the King Power Stadium in Leicester. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mohamed Salah were also on target for the Reds as Erling Haaland's much-anticipated debut for Manchester City ended in defeat. Victory saw Liverpool clinch the traditional season curtain raiser for the first time since 2006 and lay down an early marker in what is expected to be another battle between the sides for the Premier League title this season. And Arsenal have appointed Martin Odegaard as the club's new captain. The Norwegian midfielder has been handed the armband on a permanent basis ahead of the new Premier League season. Arsenal have been without a permanent captain since Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was stripped of the armband last season by Mikel Arteta. And UEFA has announced that Katarina Monzul will referee the Women's Euro 22 final between England and Germany at Wembley on Sunday. The 41-year-old Ukrainian is the first referee from her country to take charge of a Women's Euro final. An experienced official, Monzul was also the first woman referee to referee an England men's game when she oversaw their World Cup qualifier against Andorra in October 2021. And that's a wrap on Sports News. I'm Victor Matthias. Thank you for watching. It's back to Melinda with the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Victor. On the international scene, the Nigerian embassy in Rome, Italy, has confirmed that a Nigerian identified as Alika Ogochukwu has been killed in that country. In a tweet, the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, in its response today, stated that Mr. Ogochukwu, a 39-year-old Nigerian citizen, was beaten to death by an Italian man on Friday, July the 29th, 2022, in Civitanova, Marseille City, located in the province of Macerata, Marseille region of Italy. According to a statement from the Nigerian embassy in Italy, the man lost his life in the process, even as passerbys made videos of the incident with little or no attempt to prevent it. Nigeria's ambassador in Italy has condemned the gruesome murder and condoled Mrs. Charity Orachi, wife of the deceased, and his family. Ukraine has labeled Russia a terrorist state after Moscow's UK embassy tweeted that Ukrainian Azov battalion soldiers deserved a humiliating death by hanging. The embassy tweet came after more than 50 Ukrainian prisoners of war held by Russia were killed in an attack on the Olivinka prison in Russian-held eastern Ukraine. Azov soldiers were reportedly amongst them. Ukraine and Russia blame each other for the incident, which occurred on Friday. Azov troops were forced to lay down weapons in May after fiercely defending Azovstal, a giant steelworks in Mariupol that was eventually captured by Russia. Moscow has long accused the troops of being neo-Nazis and war criminals. Supporters of powerful Iraqi cleric Muqtada al-Assad have stormed parliament for the second time this week. The protesters breached the high-security green zone in Baghdad as they opposed the nomination of pro-Iran rival candidate for prime minister. Over 120 people have been injured in the latest crisis.
Protesters, rallied by Shiite populist cleric Muqtada al-Sadr and his social political Sadrist movement, used ropes and chains to pull down cement barricades leading to the gate of Baghdad's heavily fortified green zone, which houses government buildings and foreign missions. They then broke into the parliament building with some dancing and chanting. They stormed the building as the country's parliament was supposed to convene to elect a president. None of the lawmakers were present when the protesters entered the building. The scenes followed similar protests on Wednesday. But this time, many were injured, including protesters and police, as Sadr's supporters threw stones and police fired tear gas and stun grenades. The unrest comes after 9 months of stalemate amid disputes between the country's different political factions. Sadr's party came first in a general election in October, but he withdrew his lawmakers from parliament when he failed to form a government, which excluded his Shiite rivals, mostly groups backed by Iran.
And the main news again. The former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachi Lawal, and former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, today visited the Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, in Port Harcourt, in what Mr. Dogara described as a move to build an all-inclusive Nigeria. I'm Melinda Akinlami. On behalf of the team, good night.